And go.
Yud Gimel Base. Who is the minor wife who must refuse? Anyone whose brother, a mother, or brothers gave her in marriage with her consent. If they gave her in marriage without her consent, she does not need to refuse. Reb Kanina ben Tigno says any child who is unable to guard her betrothal object need not refuse. Reb Eliezer says a minor's act is void. It is as if she was been seduced. A Yisrael's daughter married a Kohen. To a Kohen may not eat truma, and a Kohen's daughter married to a Yisrael may eat truma. Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says, whenever she stayed for her husband, she is considered like his wife, but whenever she did not stay for her husband, she is not considered like his wife. If a girl refuses her husband, he is permitted to marry her relatives. She is permitted to marry his relatives, and she is not disqualified from the priesthood. If he gave her a bill of divorce, he is prohibited from marrying her relatives. She is prohibited from marrying his relatives, and is disqualified from the priesthood. If he divorced her and remarried her, and then she refused him and married another, and she was widowed or divorced, she may remarry him. If she refused him and he married her, and then he divorced her, and she married another and was widowed or divorced, she may not marry him. This is the rule. In a case of divorce after refusal, she is forbidden to remarry him. In a case of refusal after divorce, she is permitted to remarry him. Okay.
Okay, so we got all of this stuff about here and that's important to bear that in mind. Just the summary of these Mishnayos is if this minor girl who was given in marriage to Rabbanan wishes to leave the marriage at any point, she can just do miyun and it's done. It's as if she was never married. And even if she was, and we saw the situation that even if she's married to the man and he decides that let's say it's a complex relationship, he divorces her and then he says, you know what, let's remarry, and he remarries her while she's still a minor. And then she says, you know what, I've had enough of this, and she walks out. It cancels out the marriage all the way back to the first one, so that she is now permitted to marry his relatives, and he's married to permitted to marry her relatives, right? So that's what Miyun does. But here's a situation where it doesn't work. Hamama enes ba'ish. She does miyun to her husband, v'niseis la'acher, and she marries guy B, and he decides that he's going to divorce her. Boom. So she walks out. La'acher umeyanabo, another one, and she does miyun to him. La'acher levagerishan, another one. The fourth guy divorces her. La'acher umeyanabo, and another one, and she does miyun to him. Kol sheyatzas mi'emenu beget asur lachzor lo, b'miyun muteris lachzor lo. And any guy that this is actually quite a chiddush if you think about it. We're not just talking about marrying the relatives. We're talking about, remember, if a man divorces a woman and she remarries, he is never allowed to take her again. Right. So now, if anyone who was married to her divorced her, and then she went and married somebody else and did miyun to him. Now you'd think, oh, okay, so she was never really married to him because she did miyun. So let's say now she's mutter to go back to the husband who just divorced her. And this mission is telling us no, no, because as soon as she, I don't actually understand the mechanism because if I would have said it that if we're being consistent, miyun means the marriage never happened, and
Right.
therefore she should be allowed to return to that first husband. But Chazal said, okay, we're dealing on the level of Durabanans over here. And since she was married Durabanan to the first guy and he divorced her Durabanan and she married another guy Durabanan, we're going to stop her from remarrying him. Okay. So that's just an interesting little wrinkle in the halacha that if you had followed through the logic and said, okay, Miyun cancels a marriage, that should have said that she is allowed to remarry the previous husband, but kacha, no. Okay. Um, Mishnah Vav, Hamigarish is Isha. All right, so now we are returning to the situation of a regular marriage between two adults. Okay. Man divorces his wife, and then he remarries her, and then he dies childless. Okay, so what's the difference between this and a normal case? Is that she was divorced at some point, and the brother was asked to marry her because it was his brother's ex-wife. Okay, he remarried her, and now the brother dies. This is a Yevamos situation. Muteres liyavam. This is permitted to the Yavam. No different from that when she was only married once before she became a Yevama. Rabbi Eliezer Oser. Rabbi Eliezer says in this particular case, he's going to make a gezerah on it. Why? because of a case that we're going to see a little bit later. And hold your horses. We'll see that he says it looks too similar to a case where everyone agrees that it's an Issa D'Oraisa, and we don't want it to get to that. So we'll see what it is when we get there. Chen hamagarish es hayasoma. Same case if somebody divorces a yasoma, that is the Durabanan. Remember the girl was an orphan, and her mother and brothers gave her in marriage to a man. And then that man divorces her, and he returns her, and then he dies childless. Now, can his brother marry her? Again, yes, says the Tanakama. Rabbi Eliezer again says no, for exactly the same reason as he said in the first case, because it's too similar to another case. So the first case we said was a completely Doraisa situation where she is married Doraisa and she is permitted for Yibum Doraisa. And the second case is where it's a Durabanan marriage, and the Yibum would be a Durabanan Yibum. But Rabbi Eliezer says he's not allowed to do it. Okay. Katana Shehesia Aviha V'Nisgarsha. Now, what happens if there was a young girl and now she has a father? Her father is permitted by the Torah to accept Kiddushin on her behalf, and she's married. Okay. So that is a case of a situation min haTorah when she is married. Okay. And she's then divorced and she then becomes what's called a Yasama B'chaye Aviha, right? So she becomes as if she's an orphan while in her father's lifetime. Why? Because once her father has given her in marriage, she moves into her husband's domain, and her father loses authority over her. Okay. Once her husband divorces her, she's now independent. Okay, she's 9 years old, but she's independent. Okay, so now her father cannot accept Kiddushin on her behalf again. But let's say she consents to remarry the guy who just divorced her.
Right.
Chazal again said we'll accept that, but since she doesn't have das to accept her own Kiddushin, this will be a marriage derabanan again. So now what happened is the first marriage was deoraisa. He divorced her deoraisa. And now she's asa to the brothers Dioraisa because
Right.
that's okay. Now he remarries her Durabanan. On the Dioraisa level, they're not yet married. And now he returned her and then he died. And then the husband died. Now you might say, oh, wait, he has a Yibum situation. The brother can come and do Yibum. No, he cannot because the second marriage is Durabanan. And Minatora, he's asked to marry her because she was properly married to him and divorced beforehand. So this is the case that Rabbi Eliezer is saying that that is everyone agrees. Divrei hakol asur liyavam. And Rabbi Eliezer says in these other two cases that look similar to this case, I'm also going to ask her to the yavam because it looks too similar to this case. But the Chachamim disagree, and the halacha does not follow Rabbi Eliezer. All right. Zion, Shnei Achin Nisuin Shtei Achayos. Okay, two brothers, two sisters. But what's with the two sisters? Yesomos Ketanos. They are both orphans. Okay, and their mother and brothers agreed to marry them off to these two brothers. Umeis Bala Shel Achas Mehen, and then one of the brothers dies. So now you've got a brother who's married to a woman, Durabanan, and her sister has fallen to him for Yibum Durabanan. Okay, so everything here is happening on the Durabanan level. So Rabbanan say, well, look, on the Doraisa level, nothing's happened. They're not married, and therefore there's no Yibum requirement at all on the Doraisa level. And on the Durabanan level, this is his wife, and her sister has fallen for Yibum. So this is just an erva that's fallen for Yibum. So nice and easy. Okay. Teitze mishum achos isha. She just goes free and she doesn't need a chalitza. And okay, and it's an easy case. Okay. Also, this is the case also if the two women are chereshot who don't have das and exactly the same configuration. The marriage is always on a durabanan level when you've got a chereshes involved because she has no das to accept a kiddushin. Okay, now things start getting a little bit complicated when it's not symmetrical. Gedola Okutana. What happens if you've got two sisters, one of whom is an adult and one of whom is a katana who was married durabanan? Okay. Meis Bala Shel Katana. What happens? Well, if the husband of the Katana dies and now needs a Yibum, easy, because the other brother is married to her sister Doraisa. He's got no connection to her. There's an erva involved. Therefore, Tetzea Katana Mishum Achos Isha. So therefore, she just goes out free and she needs nothing and everything is in place. But Mace Bala Shel Gedola, what happens? Wait, phone is ringing because hold on, this is my boss. Hold on a second. I'm gonna pause this one. Hey. Okay. Bye. Okay, that's the word that I need to that I need to finish after this Mishnah.
Okay.
Okay. So, what happens if the husband of the adult sister dies? Now you got a problem because she needs a Yibum Min Torah. Her sister, she's married to the sister on a Durabanan level. The brother is married to his sister on a Durabanan level. Okay, so he's got a problem because now on the Doraisa level, he can't be married to the sister because there's a woman over here who's going to require a chalitza or a yibum, so he can't be married to the sister. The sister is only married on a Dorabanan level, which is not enough to exempt her on the Doraisa level. Okay, so now we got problems. So we've got three different approaches that the Tanaim suggest. Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, easy here. Melamdin is a katana shetzemain bo. Teach the teach the young girl that she must do miyun, okay? Because she's not going to be allowed to remain married to him in any event. So rather than him having to divorce her, teach her miyun. She'll do miyun. She'll cancel the marriage retroactively, and now the brother is free to do either chalitza or yibum with the other sister as he desires. Okay, melamdin. Okay, Rabban Gamliel Omer im meyana meyana. He says, we don't want to make her do mion. If she wants to do mion, let her do mion. V'im lav tamtin ad tagdil. But otherwise, just pause. Just hit the pause button on the whole thing and let time go, and then he'll stay with her for until she grows up. And when she becomes bas mitzvah, and he has relations with her after she's bas mitzvah, then she becomes his wife to Araisa, and the other woman will go out because of v'halaz teitzem mishum achos isha, and she'll go out because she'll go to the other chalitza because it's his wife's sister, which is a massive chiddush because normally we would say, nah, you can't do that. Yeah. Okay. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, Oilo al Ishto, Oilo al Eishes Achiv. He's got a big problem over here, and it's just an unfortunate situation where we have no remedy. Motzi is Ishto beget with Eishes Achiv b'chalitza. He must divorce his wife now. He says he agrees with Rabbi Eliezer that he's not going to be able to remain married to his minor wife, but he says telling her to do mion is not an option. You must divorce her, and once he's divorced her, he must also do a chalitza to the widow.
Brother's wife. Fine.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to run at this
Okay.
point now.
So, all right. I'll see you
So
tomorrow,
sorry,
Mr.
Zoran, Okay, cheers.